possible security issues with some laptops sold at Navy exchanges, and Veterans Affairs staffers voice concerns surrounding abortion services. All that and more today, October 6th, 2023. Good morning, early birds. I'm Zamone Perez, and this is the Early Bird Brief, produced by Defense News and Military Times. A quick heads up, our Monday episode will feature Defense News land warfare reporter Jen Judson as we preview the Association of the United States Army's annual conference. Now back to the show. First up, we have some Veterans Affairs news. VA staffers say they are worried they could break state laws banning abortion services, but the Department of Veterans Affairs has promised to legally protect them. Concerns were revealed in a recent VA Inspector General report, and it comes as President Biden's nominee to serve as the VA's general counsel remains stalled in the Senate. For the last 13 months, VA medical centers have provided abortion access to veterans and eligible dependents in cases of rape, incest, and pregnancies that endanger the life or health of an individual. That was the first time VA physicians performed abortions on federal property and covered individuals in states that had outlawed the procedures. Conservatives have attacked the policy as an illegal workaround of state laws. VA Secretary Dennis McDonough and other VA officials have said the move was needed to ensure reproductive health care coverage remains available to all veterans. But the policy could be to blame for the Senate's delay in confirming Biden's pick to the general counsel post. Anjali Chaudhary currently works as a Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Department of Justice. Biden nominated her for the top VA legal post in June of last year. McDonough said the confirmation delay is problematic for the entire department.
I remain concerned that our general counsel, whose nomination has been pending for a year, actually more than a year, and who performed in her hearing very well, has not been confirmed. We have 680 attorneys that work at VA. We are constantly working with Congress, with the courts, constantly making sure that we're carrying out our business consistent with the statutory obligations of the agency.
Politico previously reported that Senate Republicans and Democratic Senator Joe Manchin blocked the nomination over the abortion policy. A spokesperson for Manchin told Politico that the senator opposes the policy, calling it, quote, a blatant violation of federal law. But his office would not comment on whether he was intentionally holding up the nomination. Both McDonough and Justice Department officials have said the new abortion policies are legal, and they will defend VA employees performing their workplace duties from outside interference. Last week, officials from the VA Inspector General's office, though, said uncertainty over the abortion policy fight has left numerous staffers confused on the limits of the policy. Some are worried they'll face legal consequences even if they follow the rules. Officials from the VHA's Office of Women's Health told the Inspector General's office that they are working on better guidance but have not yet finished their work. VA officials told lawmakers in May that they had provided 54 surgical or medical abortions over the first 9 months of the policy. 10 were in cases of rape, incest, or imminent danger to the life of a patient. The others fell under the general category of adverse effect on the health of a veteran. Another important story, some lawmakers are concerned a Chinese-made laptop sold at Navy exchanges may pose a security threat. Lawmakers are urging Navy exchange officials to stop selling Lenovo computers and other products due to reported links to the Chinese government. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party requested a briefing within the month to explain why the Navy exchange decided to sell the items. The committee worried service members could be targeted on their personal computers and devices. All eligible shoppers can buy from the Navy Exchange regardless of branch of service. As of yesterday afternoon, the Navy Exchange website showed 9 Lenovo laptops and 1 desktop computer for sale. Navy Exchange officials did not have information available on the number of products sold in stores. They did not respond to questions about lawmakers' concerns yesterday afternoon, neither did Lenovo officials. A 2018 Federal Trade Commission complaint against Lenovo accused the company of pre-installing software that created serious security vulnerabilities. Lenovo has been prohibited from misrepresenting any software features that are preloaded on laptops and transmit sensitive consumer information to third parties. The Defense Department spent at least $3.8 million in fiscal 2018 on technology that could threaten national security. A DoD Inspector General report found the Defense Department spent at least $3.8 million in fiscal 2018 on technology that could threaten national security. The report noted that included more than $2 million spent on over 1,500 Lenovo products. Congress and the Department of Homeland Security issued multiple warnings against using Lenovo computers, and IG investigators noted that these had, quote, known cybersecurity vulnerabilities in FY 2018. House lawmakers approved a provision in the fiscal 2024 National Defense Authorization legislation that would ban the sale of all goods and commissaries and exchanges that are made in China, assembled in China, or imported into the United States from China. The Senate's version does not have a similar provision, and the two chambers would have to agree to include it in the final negotiations before that would become law. In other news, just a pay incentive for HR professionals at the Veterans Health Administration expires tomorrow, but the department said it is reviewing other authorities to keep recruiting for in-demand positions. For more on this, Federal Times reporter Molly Weisner joins the episode today. So Molly, can you tell us about what's happening with this expiring critical skills incentive, as they call it, at the VA?
Yeah, and first of all, let's just talk briefly about what a critical skills incentive is, because that sounds like a very government jargony type word. A critical skills incentive is essentially given to employees or new hires specifically right when they start the job. You know, they sign on, they get onboarded, and because they're coming into a position that maybe an agency has a shortage of, or maybe the agency just historically has a really hard time hiring for that kind of position, they can get sort of a lump sum payment or some kind of other incentive or pay boost, really to help attract candidates to apply to those positions. So real quickly, that's what a CSI is. There's lots of different pay incentive tools in government, and that's just one of them. And you're right. So a pay incentive just for HR professionals in the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, is the one that's expiring at the end of this week. Now, it's not clear whether that CSI is going to be replaced by another kind of incentive, like a special salary rate, for example, which is sort of a more permanent pay adjustment. That's not immediately clear, but this has been going on for some time now to help the department recruit for HR folks in order to help implement the PACT Act and just in general ensure that the agency is staffed up to support its medical professionals.
And why have HR professionals at the VA played such an important role for the department in the last year or so?
Yeah, so I mean, the big glaring thing here that sort of spurred a lot of this and made a lot of this possible, at least funding-wise, is the PACT Act. So one provision that was provided by the PACT Act was authority given to the secretary to implement skills incentives and other kind of recruitment and retention authorities to be able to bring folks into the agency, not just medical professionals, but again, support folks as well. The VA has processed a lot of these, over 13,000 already for, again, human resources, but also personnel security, police officers, housekeeping aides, all of the folks that need to come together to ensure that the influx of veterans who might be seeking care related to exposure to toxic burn pits are able to get that. And so VA's health chief has said before that into fiscal 2024, they're going to look to continue hiring HR folks. The agency was able to meet its hiring goal for 2023, which is a good sign, and that momentum seems like it's going to continue.
Thanks for joining us, Molly. For more conversations like this one, please like and rate us wherever you get your podcasts. Also on the radar for today, the U.S. military on Thursday shot down a Turkish drone that had come too close to U.S. troops on the ground in Syria. 2 U.S. officials spoke about the incident to the Associated Press under condition of anonymity because there had not yet been an announcement. One of those officials said the drone was armed. The shootdown was reportedly ordered after more than a dozen calls to Turkish military officials stating U.S. forces were on the ground in the area and the U.S. military would engage in self-defense if the drone didn't leave the area. Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder had this to say at today's press conference.
Turkey is one of our strongest and most valued NATO allies, and that partnership continues and will continue. So this is certainly a regrettable incident. We have no indication that Turkey was intentionally targeting U.S. forces. And as I mentioned, the Secretary did talk to his Turkish counterpart and reaffirmed our commitment to continue to closely coordinate.
The anonymous official said the drone had been flying in an, quote, unsafe and unsynchronized manner. The US and Turkey are NATO allies, and the militaries typically work in close coordination in conducting air maneuvers. The US has about 900 troops in Syria conducting missions to counter Islamic State group militants. The incident follows intensified Turkish airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against Kurdish militant targets after a suicide attack outside Turkey's Interior Ministry building earlier this week. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said Turkey would target facilities in Syria and Iraq belonging to the PKK or its affiliated Kurdish militia group in Syria. Here's why it matters. The incident risks adding to long-standing tensions between Turkey and the United States. U.S. officials and lawmakers have criticized Turkey's human rights record and its delays in agreeing to Swedish membership in NATO. Turkey has been frustrated by U.S. delays in approving 40 new F-16 fighter jets, as well as kits to upgrade its existing fleet. And now here's some other stories that we're hearing chirps about. American lawmakers who support Ukraine are strategizing how to pass another aid package for the country through Congress. Some House Republicans suggested tying the funding to additional funding for security at the U.S. southern border. But with the House facing an election to replace former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, it's unclear when negotiations could begin. France announced it started to pull troops from Niger. The French president said last month that the country will withdraw its soldiers by the end of the year. 26 of 32 four-star generals who retired after June 2018, that's over 80%, went to work in the arms industry. That's according to a new analysis from the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. Russian President Vladimir Putin said yesterday that fragments of a hand grenade were found in the bodies of people who died in an August crash of Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin's plane. All 10 people on board that plane were killed, including Prigozhin. Putin's statement appeared to hint that the plane was brought down by an accidental grenade explosion, but exactly what happens remains unclear. And on this day in history, in 1973, 50 years ago, Egypt and Syria attacked Israel on Yom Kippur, considered the holiest calendar day in Judaism. That's it for us this morning. To get more top stories and breaking news, go to defensenews.com/EBB to subscribe to the Early Bird Brief newsletter. Please give us a like, rating, and a comment wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on social media at @defense_news and @Military Times. The Early Bird Brief is hosted and produced by me, Zimone Z. Perez. Today's episode featured stories by Leo Shane III, Karen Jowers, Molly Weisner, and the Associated Press. Our editor-in-chief is Mike Gruss. Have a great day.